When I walked into that glass tower for my first day as a security guard, I never expected to see my former student's name gleaming on the CEO nameplate. Sarah Chen, the shy 16-year-old girl I once taught calculus to, was now running a billion-dollar empire. But what happened when she recognized me in that security uniform that changed everything I thought I knew about success, loyalty, and the lessons that really matter? Hi, I'm Robert Thompson. I'm 67 years old and I worked as a math teacher for 40 years. Now I'm a night security guard at a tech company. How I got here, but the real story began that evening. The evening I saw Sarah Chen again. My first shift in the lobby of TechNova Industries was quiet. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, technology everywhere. After 40 years of working in schools with leaking roofs, this luxury still amazed me. It was 7 p.m. and most employees had gone home. I sat at the security desk checking visitor logs. In those days, I still carried the anxiety of starting a new job at 67. My pension really wasn't enough, and my pride was getting hurt a little more each day. Then the elevator doors opened. The sound of high heels echoed on the marble floor. Red blazer jacket, perfectly styled black hair, leather briefcase in hand. This woman exuded confidence with every step. But something felt familiar. That way of walking, that posture, like an echo from 20 years ago. When she approached the security desk, I looked up, and that moment, my world stopped. Sarah Chen, the name I'd seen on the CEO nameplate. But this woman was the little girl I'd taught 23 years ago. That bullied, quiet girl from the back row who cried when she couldn't solve math problems. "Good evening," she said in a professional voice, but her eyes were scanning me. Did she recognize me? Didn't she? I wasn't sure. Maybe she just saw me as an old security guard. "Good evening, Miss Chen," I said, trying to keep my voice from trembling. "Working late tonight." She stopped, tilted her head slightly, and looked at me more carefully. That look was exactly the same as 16-year-old Sarah used to give me when she couldn't solve a math problem. The same frown, the same way of focusing. "I'm sorry," she said slowly, "but are you?" "So Robert Thompson," I said quietly. "Mr. Thompson, I used to be a math teacher." Her expression changed. Her eyes widened. Her hand gripped her briefcase tighter. 23 years suddenly vanished. In that moment, that little girl reappeared. "Mr. Thompson?" she whispered. "Is it really you?" Other employees hurrying toward the elevator were looking at us. Sarah noticed and lowered her voice. I'm Sarah Chen. My last name used to be Wang. You taught me calculus. Lincoln High School, 2001 to 2002. Of course I remembered. Sarah Wang. Her family worked 3 jobs. She went home late, struggled in classes. She was always quiet in class, often left her homework half finished. Other kids excluded her, but there was something in her eyes. Potential. Oh, so much potential. "Of course I remember you, Sarah," I said, smiling. "But now you're the CEO of this place, aren't you?" She nodded, but there was something in her eyes. Shame? Guilt? I wasn't sure. "Yes, I'm the founder and CEO of TechNova." "Mr. Thompson, what are you doing here?" "I'm a security guard," I said simply. "My pension doesn't cover rent, the economy's tough these days." Silence fell. Only the sound of air conditioning could be heard in the lobby. Tears were gathering in Sarah's eyes. I understood how strange the situation was for both of us. "Mr. Thompson, Sarah, don't worry," I said gently. "That's just life. You've accomplished something amazing. I'm very proud." That night, as I walked Sarah out, my mind went back 23 years. Sarah Wang was a student who sat in the back row, quiet, always bringing incomplete math homework. Other kids in class called her Chinese girl and constantly bullied her. But I saw something in her eyes, curiosity, a desire to learn, and deep loneliness. One day after class, she came to me. Her backpack had half-finished assignments, torn papers. "Mr. Thompson," she said quietly, eyes on the ground, "is math really this hard, or am I really this stupid?" That question broke my heart. A 16-year-old asking herself such questions. "Sarah," I said, "you're not stupid. You just haven't found the right method yet. Sit down here." From that day on, I started giving her extra lessons after school every day, free of charge. Because there was something in this girl, a spark. It just needed to be ignited. The first weeks were tough. Sarah didn't believe in herself, constantly saying, "I can't do it." But slowly she began to change. As she solved math problems, her confidence grew. Sarah, I told her one day, you're not a mathematician, you're a problem solver. That's something much bigger. What do you mean? She asked curiously. Math isn't just numbers, it's a life philosophy. You can use the logic you learn here in every area of life, from business to personal relationships. Her eyes lit up. Do you really think so? Sarah, if you want, you could even go to MIT. All you need is to believe in yourself. On graduation night, she came to me. Her eyes were teary, but this time they were tears of joy. Mr. Thompson, I got a full scholarship to MIT. I'm going to study computer engineering. That night I cried, tears of pride. That little, quiet, insecure girl was now chasing her dreams. And now that little girl was the CEO of TechNova Industries. The next day when I went to work, I found a box on my desk. Inside was a new thermos, quality coffee packets, and a small note. Mr. Thompson, please accept these. A small thank you. SC. But this was just the beginning. Strange things started happening in the following days. The security company manager called me saying my salary had been increased. Your performance is excellent, he said. But I'd only been working for 2 days. The coffee machine in the lobby suddenly became free. The cafeteria menu changed, better quality meals arrived, and strangest of all, the CEO's assistant said, "Good morning, Mr. Thompson," every day as she passed my desk, as if she'd known me for years. I didn't see Sarah for a week, but I could feel her presence. I knew an invisible hand was working around me. Friday evening, as my shift was about to end, the elevator opened again. This time it wasn't Sarah, but TechNova's HR director, Marcus Rodriguez. "Mr. Thompson," he said, extending his hand, "may I introduce myself? I'm Marcus Rodriguez, Human Resources Director." We shook hands. Why did this man want to meet me? "Ms. Chen told us how much we value you," he said, smiling. "We think there might be positions where we could benefit from your experience and knowledge." Excuse me? We have an in-house training program, math, analytical thinking, problem solving. We need experienced instructors in these areas, part-time, flexible hours. Would that interest you? My head spun. I'm just a security guard. Marcus laughed. "Mr. Thompson, how do you think your CV ended up on my desk? 40 years of teaching experience, math degree, trained hundreds of students. You're not just a security guard." That night, driving home, my head was confused. This couldn't be a coincidence. Sarah's fingerprints were all over this. Monday morning, I went to work early. I was waiting for Sarah, and she came at lunchtime. "Mr. Thompson," she said as she approached, "we need to talk." I got up from the security desk. "Sarah, if you please," she said, raising her hand, "come upstairs to my office." Being on the CEO floor was surreal. Huge glass windows, city view, magnificent furniture, and on that small desk, Sarah's MIT diploma was hanging. Right next to it was a graduation photo from Lincoln High School. I noticed it, but said nothing. "Please sit," she said, but she didn't sit herself. She stood by the window, her back to me. 23 years ago, she began, her voice trembling, "You didn't just teach me math. You taught me how to survive. You taught me I was valuable. You taught me I could succeed." She turned and looked at me. Her eyes were teary. "Seeing you in that situation, seeing you in that uniform, it's breaking my heart, Mr. Thompson." "Sarah, no, please. Listen, if I'm here today, if this company exists, everything I've accomplished is because of you. And I never forgot that." She went to her desk and pulled out a folder. "This," she said, handing me the folder, "is the offer I prepared for you. Education director position. You'll be in charge of in-house training programs. The salary is 3 times the security job." I opened the folder. When I saw the numbers, I couldn't breathe. This figure was 10 times my pension. "Sarah, I can't accept this. This is too much." "Too much?" she asked with harshness in her voice for the first time. "Mr. Thompson, while you were giving me free lessons, did you know I was doing homework by candlelight because our electricity was cut off? While you cared about me, my mother was going to her 3rd job. While you told me you can succeed, everyone saw me as the poor Chinese girl." She stood up, went to the window. "When I was starting this company, I used the lesson you gave me even in my first investor presentation. Math isn't just numbers, it's a life philosophy, you said. This philosophy kept my company standing." She turned and looked at me. "So please don't tell me this offer is too much. This is the first installment of a 23-year debt." I sat down. My hands were trembling. Sarah, are you really that little girl? The girl who cried in math class? She smiled. For the first time, I saw that old Sarah's smile. I still cry, she said. I just cry from happiness now. That day, going home, for the first time in 23 years, I felt truly valuable as a teacher, as a human being, as a mentor. The next week, I started as education director. My first class was with TechNova's young engineers. Topic, the mathematics of problem solving. Mathematics, I told the class, isn't just adding numbers. Mathematics is the art of breaking complex problems into pieces and finding solutions. Every challenge you face in your company is actually a math problem. The young people listened attentively. One of them asked, "So, Mr. Thompson, how do we apply this approach in real life?" "Good question," I said. "Let me give you an example. 23 years ago, I had a student who was struggling in math class. The problem was, how do I bring out this student's potential? The solution, I broke the problem into parts. First, I addressed the lack of confidence, then the lack of method, finally the lack of motivation." In the middle of the lesson, the door opened and Sarah came in. She sat in the back row, just like she did 23 years ago. Our eyes met and she smiled. When the lesson ended, I saw everyone off. Sarah was the last to leave. "Mr. Thompson," she said hesitantly, "I have a question." "Sure, Sarah. What?" "As this training program expands, we'll need more teachers. Experienced, quality teachers like you. We're thinking of a program for retired teachers. What do you think?" I smiled. "Sarah, you're still the same Sarah. Still dreaming big." "You taught me," she said. "Dreams are as certain as mathematics. You just need to find the right formula." That evening, going home, I had my new ID card in my pocket, Robert Thompson, Education Director, TechNova Industries. But what I was really proud of was something else. That evening, I'd received a message from Sarah. "Mr. Thompson, one of the young engineers from your class today came to me. This teacher is amazing," he said. "He's not just teaching us math, he's teaching us life. Just like I learned from you 23 years ago. Thank you, not just for math, but for life. Sarah." 6 months later, we organized TechNova's first Teacher Appreciation Night. Retired teachers, active teachers, educators, everyone was there. During her speech, Sarah called me to the stage. "Tonight," she said into the microphone, "we have a special guest. This man didn't just teach me math, he taught me the value of dreaming, working, never giving up. Most importantly, he showed me that a teacher's impact is much bigger than the classroom." Applause echoed. Mr. Robert Thompson, my teacher, my mentor, and now my friend. When I got on stage, there were hundreds of people in the hall, but I only saw that little girl sitting in the back row. She, now in a CEO suit, was standing and applauding. I went to the microphone. "I taught for 40 years, I said. I educated thousands of students, but tonight I realized that I was the one who really learned. Sarah taught me that a teacher's greatest success isn't when the student surpasses the teacher, but when the student never forgets the teacher." A voice rose from the hall, and when the teacher never forgets the student, it was Sarah's voice. That night, going home, I had both my TechNova ID card and my old teacher ID in my pocket. Both defined me. Both were valuable. A year later, we established the TechNova Education Foundation, scholarship programs for disadvantaged students, professional development for teachers, technology-supported education projects. While planning the latest project in Sarah's office, I noticed the photo on the wall. From 2002 Lincoln High School graduation ceremony, little Sarah, diploma in hand with me beside her. "Why do you keep that photo?" I asked. Sarah smiled. "Because that day my real life began. That day a teacher told me, 'Sarah, you didn't just learn math, you learned your own worth.' I never forgot those words. I never forgot what you taught me either," I said. "That a student's success is a teacher's greatest reward." Sarah stood up, went to the window. Looking at the city, she spoke, "Mr. Thompson, right now in this city, there are more than 50 of your former students, CEOs, engineers, doctors, teachers. They're all here today because of you, and they all remember you." She turned and looked at me. "Maybe you're not just my teacher anymore, but all of our teacher." That evening, on my 68th birthday, there was a surprise party in TechNova's cafeteria. Hundreds of people came, not just TechNova employees, but my former students too. Marcus Martinez, now a doctor. Jennifer Wu, architect. David Park, software developer. Tom Anderson, high school print, they were all there. They all remembered me. During her speech, Sarah said, "This room isn't just a birthday party. This is a celebration of a teacher's legacy. Mr. Thompson, every student who passed through your classroom in 40 years is somewhere in this world today, living what you taught them. They may have forgotten the math formulas, but they didn't forget the values you taught." 3 years later, the TechNova Education Foundation operated in 15 countries. Thousands of students received scholarships, hundreds of teachers participated in professional development programs, and at the entrance of every newly opened center was the same inscription: "One teacher changes one life." The day I was invited to Sarah's house for the first time, I encountered a surprise in the guest room. On the wall, in a huge frame, were hundreds of photos taken during my 40-year teaching career. Class photos, graduation ceremonies, school events. "Where did you find these?" I asked in amazement. "I contacted your former students," she said, smiling. "They all kept your photos, they all remembered you, and they all wanted to contribute to this collection." There weren't just photos on that wall. There were small notes under each photo. "Mr. Thompson, you made me love mathematics. Now I work at NASA. Michael Davis, 1985. I couldn't have become an engineer without you. Thank you. Lisa Chang, 1993. If I can find a teacher like you for my daughter, I'll consider myself lucky. Robert Kim, 1998. You weren't my math teacher, you were my life coach. Amanda Rodriguez, 2004. Hundreds of notes, hundreds of thanks, hundreds of life stories. "Sarah," I said with a trembling voice, "I was just doing my job." "No, Mr. Thompson," she said seriously. "You were doing much more. You were changing lives, and you didn't even realize it." That evening, sitting at Sarah's dining table, there was another detail that caught my attention. On the table, a framed old piece of paper. It looked familiar. "What's this?" I asked. Sarah smiled. "The first math assignment you gave me in 2002. You said express your dreams in numbers. I wrote, I want to employ 1,000 people someday, provide scholarships to 1,000 students, touch 110,000 lives." I looked at the paper again. At the bottom was a note I'd written in red pen. "Perfect, Sarah. Your dreams are as certain as mathematics. Just keep working, Mr. Thompson." "You achieved all these dreams," I said proudly. "No," Sarah said. "I exceeded them all. Right now, TechNova employs 12,000 people. Our foundation provides scholarships to 50,000 students, and we estimate our programs have touched 2 million lives." She paused, her eyes filling. "And it all started in that math class. It started with a teacher believing in a student." The next month, we went to the opening ceremony of the Robert Thompson math classroom at Lincoln High School, the school principal said in his speech. "When Mr. Thompson first came to this school 40 years ago, we thought he was just a young math teacher. Today, we understand that he was actually a miracle. Students who came from this classroom are now all over the world in various professions, but they all have one thing in common. They all live what Mr. Thompson taught them." After the opening ceremony, I was alone in my old classroom, the place where I gave my first lesson 40 years ago. I approached the blackboard and wrote with chalk, "Mathematics equal life. Formula, faith, work, success." The door opened and Sarah came in. "You're still writing the same thing," she said, smiling. "Because it's still true," I said, "and you're proof of that." Sarah came to the blackboard, took the chalk and wrote, "Teacher plus student equals infinite impact. This is my formula," she said. "I learned it from you." That day, driving home, the radio was playing in the car. The announcer was reading the news. TechNova Industries CEO Sarah Chen announced that the company will invest its annual profit in education projects. Chen explained the reason behind this decision. "A teacher of mine taught me that real success is measured by being instrumental in others' success. I'm making this principle the cornerstone of our company philosophy." I turned off the car radio and smiled. That little Sarah was now changing not just her own life, but thousands of other lives. When I got home, there was an envelope in my mailbox, my address written in Sarah's handwriting. Inside was a simple card. "Mr. Thompson, this week Fortune magazine chose me as CEO of the Year. I wanted to share a copy of the speech I'll give at the award ceremony. As I accept this award, I remember a math teacher who believed in me 25 years ago. Mr. Robert Thompson didn't just teach me math, he taught me my worth, showed me my potential, and most importantly, taught me that success has no meaning by itself, only when used to help others. This award isn't just mine, Mr. Thompson. This award is yours, because I'm just living what you taught me. With infinite gratitude, Sarah. P.S. Next month, TechNova Foundation's new project begins, Technology Center for Teachers. We want you to lead this project too, because you're not just my teacher anymore, you're the teacher of the whole world. That night, I went to sleep, not as 69-year-old Robert Thompson, but as a teacher whose impact continues, who still trains students, who still touches lives. And in my dream, there were thousands of students, all from different ages, different countries, different professions, but they all had the same light in their eyes, the light that comes from knowing a teacher believed in them. 5 years later, the Robert Thompson Education Institute was established. Not just Sarah's foundation, but an institution created with contributions from my former students from around the world. Its purpose was simple: to support disadvantaged students and provide resources to teachers. At the opening ceremony at age 72, I spoke in front of hundreds of people. This institute bears my name, but actually everything here is your work. You, my former students, are the reason I'm here today. I thought I was just teaching you math, but you taught me life's most valuable lesson. A teacher's real reward lives in their students' success. Sarah in the audience was applauding through tears. Marcus, Jennifer, David, Tom were beside her. They were all there. I ended my speech like this. Today, we're not just opening an institute. Today, we're celebrating a belief in the power of education, that a teacher can change a student and that this change can spread to the world. That evening, walking with Sarah in the institute's garden, she asked a question. Mr. Thompson, even though you taught for 40 years, was there ever a moment you regretted it? Times when you could have made more money, done more prestigious jobs? I paused. Sarah, even the day I started working as a security guard at 67, I never regretted it, because that day I saw you again. And that moment I realized that the greatest wealth teaching brought was the mark you left on your students' lives. But what about now? How do you feel now? I smiled. Now I feel like the richest person in the world because my investments keep earning interest. Sarah laughed. Which investments? You, Marcus, Jennifer, David, Tom, you're all my investments. And as you invest in others, this cycle will continue forever. That night, at 72, I was experiencing one of the happiest moments of my life. Because I understood that real success doesn't live in accumulation, but in transformation. 6 months later, I had to retire from active duties due to health problems, but this wasn't an end, it was a new beginning. Sarah took over the leadership of the Institute. Her first act was to start a program called Teacher Stories. Retired teachers shared their experiences with young teachers. During my first talk, there were 300 young teachers in the hall. I told them, "Dear young colleagues, the most valuable advice I can give you is this. See potential in every student. That potential might not be visible immediately, it might emerge years later. But remember, you're not just teaching lessons, you're changing lives." A young teacher in the audience asked, "Mr. Thompson, sometimes we feel our students are uninterested. What should we do in this situation?" "Indifference is often the mask of fear," I said. "That student might be afraid of failing. Your job is to turn that fear into confidence." I remember Sarah. When she first came, she was so afraid of math class that she was even afraid to ask questions. But with patience, with love, we won her trust. Another teacher asked, "How do we know if we've left a lasting mark on our students' lives?" I smiled. "Most of the time you won't know." I didn't expect Sarah to be this successful either, but that's the beauty. You just plant. The harvest sometimes comes years later, sometimes you never see it. But this shouldn't make you give up. That day, driving home at 73, I still felt like a teacher, only the method had changed. A year later, I experienced one of the most pride-filled moments of my life. I went to Sarah's wedding. The groom was David Park, one of my former students. They had both met at TechNova. Both had been raised in my classes. At the wedding ceremony, Sarah wanted to dance with me instead of the father-daughter dance. "Mr. Thompson," she said while dancing, "I never knew my father, but thanks to you, I felt what a father's love would be like." My eyes filled. "Sarah, You also taught me what it's like to be proud of a daughter's achievements. When the dance ended, everyone in the hall stood up and applauded. But I only saw Sarah. That little shy girl was now living the happiest day of her life, and I, at the end of 40 years, had received the greatest reward a teacher could get, sharing my students' happiness. That night at 73, I wrote my last diary entry as Robert Thompson. Today, I understood that teaching isn't a profession, it's a way of life. Whether in the classroom or not, a teacher always teaches. And the most beautiful part is, as you teach, you learn. Sarah Chen had told me, "You didn't teach me math, you taught me life." But the truth is, she taught me a bigger lesson, that seeds planted with love will surely bear fruit. I taught for 40 years. Thousands of students passed through my hands. But today I realized that I was the one who really learned, because every student taught me a different color of life. And now at 73, I continue to learn. Because teaching is a journey that continues as long as you live. I'll never forget what Sarah said today. "You're like a father to me." These words are the greatest reward of my 40-year career. Tomorrow I'll tell my story to new teachers, because every story is the seed of another story, and the story continues. This diary entry was Robert Thompson's last writing, but his story didn't end, because real teachers don't live as long as they're alive, but as long as they teach. Sarah Chen today, as the head of TechNova, manages not just a company, but hope. And with every decision she makes, she still hears that voice from math class. "You can do it, Sarah." The Robert Thompson Education Institute today operates in 50 countries. It reaches millions of students. And in every newly opened branch, the same principle applies. One teacher can change the world. Because sometimes the biggest changes begin in the quietest moments. In a math class, when a teacher tells a student, "You can do it." And this story begins anew with every new teacher-student meeting, in an endless cycle with endless hope. This was the most valuable lesson Robert Thompson taught. Education doesn't shape one generation, it shapes the future.